Hey there, it's Jordan Mercier. Welcome back to another edition of the Wolverines Report. I am pleased to be chatting today with the coaching coordinator for not only the Peterborough Wolverines, but also the Kinsman Minor Football League, Rick Thompson. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk to us today.
Hey, Jordan. Good to be back. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And the theme for this episode is long-term athlete development. Now, that is a big thing. There's a lot of different zigs and zags along the way, but we want to focus, Coach, on the journey and not the destination.
Okay, well put. You know what? You're making my job easy to talk about this. With the Wolverines and the KMFL, obviously, as we've had this little pause in action to really look back at what we've done over the years, how to do it, with the OFC sort of becoming the OSFL, the Ontario Summer Football League, and Football Canada and Football Ontario all coming together, there's been more of a synergy from top to bottom, which has given us an opportunity now to, in my role as the coaching coordinator, to sort of roll out some more information to our younger coaches and new coaches to the program. With the long-term athlete development, really, in a nutshell, what it is at every age group, the coaches are going to be setting up programming that's appropriate, right? As Brian Junkin, that's been on previous episodes, and Jeff Allen, the younger the player, the different expectations we're going to have, right? Mm-hmm. There's going to be more time on fun and skill development and body movement. As you move up through those middle ages, the Bantam and JV, it's getting a little bit more serious on how to actually play the game and being structured more on scheme. And then obviously senior varsity, before our players leave the city, we're going to be definitely more geared to more film, how to break down film, working out in the weight room, and different things like that. So that's kind of an overview of the long-term athlete development, right? Basically from when you enter to when you're ready to leave to go on to do whatever you're going to do later on in life with football.
You mentioned a word, fun. And oftentimes, in football is no exception, but oftentimes in sports, the relationship between the parents and the coach and the player, I think often fun can get lost. But particularly in those early age groups, I mean, that's what the whole thing is built on. Let's have some fun. Let's teach them some skills, but let's not make it all about, how do we make little Johnny the next great CFLer? Like, that'll come later on, but when you start early, it has to be fun.
Exactly, yeah. And one of the terms I always like to make the joke is we need to put the fun in fundamentals, right? And again, going back to the LTAD model, it's something that kids learn to move, right? And I know even with your daughter, right, doing some gymnastic stuff, things like that, right? All those other cross-training things that you do is good, right? So as much as we want kids playing some rep football in the spring and we want the kids playing house league in the fall, we want them trying other sports as well, right? Because really some of the best athletes you ever run across at a pro level have played a lot of other sports. But going back, coaches, we really want to stress with the Wolverines and KMFL, educating the parents on what they should expect, right? Part of my job is to educate the coaches to make sure that they are giving the proper information out to players and parents of how this works and what they should be doing as they move through each age group. And again, I've always said that the more fun you have, the more success you're going to have, and typically that leads to wins on the scoreboard, right? So that's kind of all those things. It's a recipe, and you've got to work hard. Everybody involved has to be on the same page.
It's interesting you mentioned, some sports that might cross over in terms of skill for football. We've covered this off, that in football there are so many different skill sets and so many different disciplines. Do you find that it is helpful? A lot of the players that you get have had success in other types of sports?
One of my favorite sports at high school that I send my football players to is badminton. Hand-eye coordination.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
I thought Roman Greco. I thought something different.
Yeah, definitely wrestling for sure as well. But one of my good buddies, Jeff Winslow, is a teacher at Norwood High School, and he and we work in the same department. And oftentimes some of his best badminton players have been football players. A, they're strong for a smash, but B, they can move around and they're agile, right? But obviously, yes, track and field. Right? Any basketball, again, the way you pivot, the way you move around in those sports are transferable skills. And again, that's one of the things we like to talk about with the coaching staffs I've been on, right? Is trying to relate other sports, right? When you play a bit of basketball, right? When you're setting up a pick, right? Or pick and roll. That's how you're going to do certain things when you're playing receiver or as a DB, some of those different things, right? And the lower longer is one Gabe Robinson always talks about, right? He taught us that years ago when he started coaching with us. That body movement and how to control your body is really important. That's going to play, again, long-term development in being a good athlete.
Yeah, occasionally, even in professional ranks, you'll see players that maybe don't even traditionally have football experience, but they'll take a floater on basketball players. I think Antonio Gates was a great basketball player. Julius Peppers, the same sort of thing. As the journey continues, though, you've sort of highlighted it in your opening remarks, it gets to be a little bit more in the way of technical as you build up further. And that's when you start to, as you mentioned, film study, and the technique part of the game really kind of creeps in.
Yeah, with the Wolverines this year, we're going to have, we've always had a huddle program. That is a program we pay for, that we record all of our games and practices and put them in there for coaches and players to go back and watch. We're even going to implement it at a younger age group now, not so much for the players, but more for the coaches to go back to review how it is they're teaching, and what they're teaching at practice, is it actually relating, and are they seeing it in the games? And then that's going to be a teaching tool when players and parents and coaches sit down and look, right? If parents have questions, my son played hockey up through, and we would talk to the coaches. We would have Braden chat with the coaches, right? Because again, it's a partnership. It's got to be a three-way partnership between the player, the coach, and the parent. And there's nothing worse. We all have left the field or the stadium, the arena after our team is lost, and everybody's wants to blame somebody, right? Mm-hmm. And the most successful teams are always the teams that come and keep everything in-house, and they understand what the goal is, and they realize that winning and losing isn't the most important thing. It's the development and understanding where everyone fits in within the system, which again goes back to using the huddle program and having, players actually understand and see themselves. Because again, once players get to see what it looks like from somebody that's successful versus somebody that's not successful, it, in a movement or a type of drill and stuff like that, it really will pay off as well.
As somebody who specializes in being able to recruit coaches and help train coaches, is there a trait or two that you notice in the ones who are more successful in the program in terms of their attitudes towards certain aspects of the game?
My experience is lifelong learners, right? If you listen to anybody speak that's at a higher level, I have the good fortune to be close friends with Richie Hall. He's the defensive coordinator with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We sit down and we have Zoom calls, and he likes to chat with me because every time I ask a question, he feels challenged. And I think the best coaches I've ever worked with are people who do not become intimidated when someone brings a problem to them or challenges them on why they make a play call. It's that they can reflect on themselves and also understand that a lot of things are happening really quickly out there, right? It's easy to stand on the sidelines, sit in the bleachers and say, why did, little Jimmy or Mary or Susie make that play? It's a lot more difficult when you're down on ground level, and it's, I call it a wash machine or a cement mixer in there sometimes, right? So the coaches who can keep it simple, connect with the players, right? And then also be able to connect and bring it back to why they're trying to do what they are, and then again making it fun, right? Football's a very hard sport, right? It's physically demanding. You're going to get hurt. You're going to bang your finger. You're going to get your knee twisted up, ankles and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, right, we're going to teach our athletes to be strong, be physical, be flexible, and bounce back and continue to work together as a group.
And there are a couple of great examples. I saw some of the articles that have started to string out in the Peterborough Examiner of some of the Wolverine program players who have now gone on to collegiate football, both in Canada and in the United States.
Yeah, we've had, it always worries me when I come on an episode with you, and I never want to leave anybody out, but there's been so many players, right, that have gone on, as we talked about in episode 1, right? Joe Benz is probably the guy who's gone to the highest level right now within the Wolverines as far as playing professional football. Jared Wayne's gone off. Philip Jeffs is down in the States. Those are former Wolverines that are playing south of the border, as you said. And we've got more, right? There's more coming, and that's what I said. To mention one or two, you kind of forget. You don't want to leave anybody out, but yeah, there's a lot of people, and even to that. One of the things I wanted to chat with tonight on the episode is also for kids who are thinking of going off to college. There is, we have a couple players who have graduated from they haven't graduated yet. They're going to play senior varsity this year, but they've played the Wolverine system up through, and they're going to go play CJFL. And we had a couple of guys from the former Wolverines go down last year and play in the inaugural Quinny Skyhawks team, right? So even students who aren't necessarily university bound now still do have a post-secondary chance to go on and potentially pick up a scholarship to get some education as well. So.
And those are opportunities that really didn't exist if we wind back the clock 10 years ago, or if they did, they were more hard to find than what they are now.
They were definitely, I would say that with the advent of the internet and the advent of Zoom, we are doing a lot more coaches meetings. The Ottawa High School Association just ran a month-long Zoom clinic on Thursday nights that a lot of people now in the football community have been able to get a lot closer. And yeah, for sure, guys have always gone off to play university football, but this has now made it, and again, social media makes it a little more visible, obviously, with us seeing more posts and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
One of the bigger things that as we probably get near Bantam and into JV and senior varsity, we definitely want our athletes working on strength and conditioning and flexibility. And we've had the great fortune over the years. We've hooked up with Hybrid Sports Fitness. They've got their 2 locations in Peterborough here, Josh and Holly Gillum. Brody Burkhoff is one of the guys. He's been a personal trainer with a lot of our football players. And then another a gentleman that we've had the experience of working with in the past, and Matt and I were just talking again on Saturday when he was at the Dome. His young son is now playing on the U10 team, and Matt Pritchard runs Pritchard Performance Coaching. And 2 great opportunities. If people are interested, definitely they can contact me, and I can put them in touch with either one of those groups. Great people that are going to get players and athletes stronger and more flexible. And again, when we talk about the risk of injury, right, we're never going to eliminate it, but we can definitely manage it with proper neck strength, right, proper back strength, and then that flexibility in shoulders and knees, ankles and stuff like that. It's definitely going to make it a lot safer for athletes. And again, the better and more comfortable and safer you feel out there, the faster you're going to play. And we all know that when you're playing fast and loose, right, good things are going to happen with your team. And again, goes back to fun, goes back to coaches looking at you at a higher level, if that's what you want to do. At the end of the day, there's great flag leagues in Peterborough here for older people that aren't looking to get tackled anymore, but still want to get out and have some camaraderie and play a team sport. And that's, at the end of the day, I think that's one of the best things with football, right, is it takes 12 people or 9 people or 6 people, depending on the age group you're playing, to have any type of success. If you're going to actually put the ball in the end zone or stop a team from getting in the end zone, it's got to be that teamwork, which again, as I've said last episode I was on, right, we need that coming out of COVID. We got to get people working in the same direction and pulling for a common goal. So,
coaching coordinator with both the Peterborough Wolverines and the Kinsman Minor Football League, Rick Thompson. Rick, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks, Jordan. It's always a blast.
This has been another episode of the Wolverine Report. It is produced in conjunction with MNC Podcast Productions.